We were talking just before we started about ticketing in the World Cup. There's been two things in other ticketing spaces that have happened over the last few days that I just wanted to kind of quickly cover with you. So, World Cup prices we know are absolutely insane, and World Cup final price currently on the system is $11 million, which is bonkers. Liverpool today announced a bit of a U-turn on previous ticketing announcements where they said they were going to increase the ticket prices over the next 3 years by inflation. They've adjusted that to 3% increase next season and a ticket freeze the season after. This seems to be a pattern with FSG in that they will announce a ticket price and rescind it. Cynical person in me feels that they kind of almost go worst case scenario with their initial announcements so that they've got scope to rein it back. I don't know whether that's just me feeling that, but I guess what's your take on it, Kurt, and especially looking across the pond as well.
It's almost like a soft launch, like or they put little feelers out, except they're pretty aggressive
Yeah,
about it. They're just like, here, this is what's going to happen. We'll see if there's pushback, if there's not pushback. They do a decent job of reining it in quickly if they have to, but it's very aggressive soft launch, I guess, is how I would describe a lot of the way they put some of that stuff out.
yeah, they kind of do a bit backwards, don't they? They kind of go, okay, well, we know the shit's gonna hit the fan with this one. We'll rein it back, and then not everyone's hunky dory, but it kind of, as you say, just kind of softens and it goes, well, okay, thanks for listening. You're taking it on board, and I don't know, the cynic in me almost feels a bit like, they were always going for that anyway. They've just kind of hoodwinked, some of the fans. Maybe I don't know whether that's the case.
I think I think what happens with a lot, like particularly what happens with like NBA basketball over here, is that if they really like something in the league office, it gets put out to a lot of reporters, and it's like they're thinking about this, and then they feed reaction that way, and they read through reaction that way. I think Liverpool or some of these other things they want the full reaction, I think, and they put the actual thing out. It's like this is next, and it's just very aggressive. Then you get the full reaction, and you don't get like I've found like online criticism is a little bit overblown with a lot of things because people online are just critics.
Yeah,
You don't get the other
yeah.
side. So I feel like when they put it out, they get the full reaction, and maybe they just like doing it that way, a little bit more than just kind of like feeding, Paul Joyce or whoever, just like a couple things. So yeah, I think they like doing it that way, and I think it gets them a better reaction. But
Yeah,
if they rein it back, I guess it's all right. It's not as
yeah, and
bad.
that's the thing. And don't get me wrong, one of the things that most of us seen in the initial announcement was the inclusion of an added category for younger supporters, and I think that's something that absolutely has to happen, not just for Liverpool but across the whole Premier League, because at the moment they are getting priced out. So anything we can do to support them, and I think as an older match going fan, it's definitely something I'd take an extra pound to be able to take that off a younger person at the match. I'd more than be happy to do that. I'd much rather a younger local person be at the match than say, an influencer or that kind of thing. The club
Mm.
would think differently because obviously they're looking at revenue streams and things like that. But it's really interesting as well. There's lots of noise around Liverpool at the moment with ticketing. We're seeing a lot of instances where season ticket holders are having the tickets rescinded. There's lots of instances where people are basically having the tickets taken from them by the club for various reasons. Some potentially things around touting and things like that. But the noise is really picking up around this, and it seems to be happening quite a lot now as we gear us towards the end of the season, which is I think is really interesting in that the tickets are pulled from say season ticket holders or members, and the seat's still filled. So I think one of the interesting points is okay, if that seat's still filled, who's it going to and how much is it going for? Because if that's then being pulled from a season ticket holder, they're not gaining the cost back, which the club then pocket. If they're then reselling the ticket, what are they actually reselling it for? Because if they're then selling it for an additional cost over and above the standard ticket, well, surely that's just in-house touting.
Yeah, that would probably be the case. Yeah, I haven't read too much into the ticketing thing. Um, they are American owners, and there will be, in my opinion, a pretty big push across Europe to raise ticket prices just as a whole. Um, and this happens a lot with like it's happening with college football here now, where like I'm not like I don't want to say fans prevent clubs from making the money they think they can make, but when you set your ticket prices really, really low, and it's like a thing over in Europe where ticket prices don't go nuts. Like our ticket prices are, you know, are
Insane.
not are nuts. Yeah. So I think there's so in college football there's just like this slow movement of the big teams kind of pushing the smaller stuff away, adding more big games, you know, things like that. Um, but I think there's a large area in European football for ticket prices to jump quite a bit. And Infantino, is that the guy who leads FIFA?
He is.
Um,
He is. Yeah.
Today, I think it was mentioned because he was like bragging about like 25% of the World Cup tickets being 25 or being $300 or below. At like a quarter of the tickets are $300 or below, as if it was some brag. But he mentioned something really not great, I thought, for that after. He said American sports over here is like $300 for a big game just in general. And it was like a hint of we would like to push for that. And you see kind of weird little things, and it'll come very slowly, but it'll come, I think, where what 2 weeks ago, last week, FIFA um, put that clause in where teams can play league games abroad. That
Yeah.
just got slipped in last week, and it was very quiet, and but that's a big revenue thing. It was La Liga were pushing it, or Barcelona tried to get one there. Milan and Como last year tried to get one in Florida. So I think it's going to be really weird with ticket prices over the next decade, just in general in Europe, as there's like a push to make up revenue that they think they should be getting already, if you know what
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think you see it with the NFL and the MLB games that happen over in London. There's definitely revenue stream there. There's definitely interest there, and that's not just in London. That's like all around the UK. I know lots of. I've been to MLB games myself. I know lots of friends who go to the NFL games. They'll just go to whoever's playing. So that
Mhm.
interest is definitely there. And
It's a
yeah, I think
novelty
it's
thing.
yeah, it is a little bit. Don't get me wrong. There are quite a few fans
Mhm.
of American sports in the UK. Probably more than what the general consensus maybe thinks, especially NFL. But it's really interesting your point there about Infantino and with him doing that and obviously slipping these things in. And UEFA have kind of almost given with one hand and taken away with the other. I kind of always feel like UEFA and FIFA are always a bit at loggerheads. They're always trying to do a load of one-upmanship. So UEFA have said for the 2028 Euros, which are in the UK and Ireland, they are freezing the prices to the 2024 one, which is fab. And they've said, I think 60% of tickets are going to be at the lowest band. Now, at the time, they hadn't said what the lowest band is, but actually, they now come up and said the lowest band's 40 euros, which actually, you can't really argue with that fact.
Mhm.
So they do that in one hand, and then you look at the Champions League final. And one of the first messages I seen on Instagram was, guy, he's got a ticket to the final. He's really happy. Arsenal's allocation, 63,000 seat stadium, mind, 17,000. Now that will not cover anywhere near the amount of Arsenal fans that will want to get to that final. And it
Mhm.
really annoys me that you kind of go, you've got loads of match going people. You can't have a final at 63,000. It's got to be 80 plus. It's got to be, veering towards, there's probably only 3-4 stadiums max in Europe that should be hosting this final. So yeah, it just really riles me, especially when it comes to match going fans getting shafted again. And I think UEFA, you just shoot yourselves in the foot. You've done really well with Euros and what you kind of said and trying to piss off
Mhm.
FIFA, but then you do that. So it's kind of like, come on, guys.
Yeah, it's definitely they definitely kind of go at each other a little bit, UEFA and
Yeah,
FIFA, and do little things like that. But you're right. Yeah, they probably should be at bigger stadiums. Um, Definitely more. I mean, that means half allocation for fans, just in general.
yeah,
Like you get because the middle seats are definitely more expensive for the most part. You would think, just for whatever, just for whoever's willing to kind of sit in those seats and willing to pay for those. Obviously, you could try and get fans in there, but they're slightly more expensive, and you get more, like you said, influencers and people with a little bit
yeah.
more money and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it's definitely, yeah, it's little things like that that make you think, long term, it's just going the negative way. And
Yeah, yeah, and us over here, we've got the Open Championship landing in a couple of months, and some of the tickets there, I think for the Thursday onwards, so the Championship days, I think you start off about £120 for the day. But when I say for the day, that's the entire day. It's not just you're there for 90 minutes and that's that. You are there from 8 a.m. You can stay there till 8 p.m. You are getting the full experience in that sense. You can go all around the course. There's very limited places where you can't really go. So,
mm,
I think stuff like that, especially with golf, you look across and you go, value for money, that's probably doing better.
mm.
Again, one hand with the other. The announcement for the Ryder Cup tickets came out earlier today, and match days Friday to Sunday, €500 each, or you can just get a full week pass for €2,000. So you kind of go certain things, you kind of go, you've done well there, but then you take away there. But Ryder Cup's one of those events. It's almost like a once in a lifetime thing, so people will pay it, I guess.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say golf does a decent job. Like the Masters is pretty cheap, but
Yeah,
it's the problem is getting into it. Obviously,
yeah,
you have to win the draw, but it's like $120 for your whole day there if you're there, like it's relatively cheap, but it's the draw that makes it a little bit funky. But yeah,
yeah. Because even
certain
all the
things are
catering
good.
and everything, it's dead cheap, isn't it? All the food, the drink, everything once you're in there is dead cheap. But as you say, it's the getting in, and I guess then it's the staying nearby as well, because everyone then just jacks the prices right up.
Yeah, yeah, it's funky, but I guess we'll see with a lot of this stuff. But I expect it to come. I don't know if it'll be heavily aggressive. We've seen a lot of ticket freezes from a lot of clubs in the Premier League over the last year or so, in the championship as well. So we'll see. A lot of these clubs overspend on top of some of the stuff they do. Like Leicester. Leicester just built that, like Leicester spent all the
Leicester,
Harry Maguire money on that like training complex that costs like
all
20
that,
million a year to run. And
all that
they're not
Harry
even going to
Maguire
make
money.
20 million in the league next year. So like if they were to go the way of Bolton in like a year, like if they don't come straight back up, they might just disappear altogether
Yeah,
because nobody's going to come buy that. That's not an asset you can sell off. It's so some of these clubs have overthought themselves a little bit, and you get into weird little spots as well that force their hand more, and everything's just
yeah.
a bit funky.
And you potentially create that scenario where you'd almost get like the wrong buyer as well. And we've seen that time and time again in England. Sheffield Wednesday recently just going through it. They had a terrible owner who, they have points deductions, everything, and thankfully they are going down, but they are going to start next season on a clean slate, which is great for them. But yeah, it kind of attracts those kind of chances who will go, oh, I might get this on the cheap and see what they can cream from the top. So
Make a
yeah,
quick buck.
it's a really sad one. So I think we've covered tickets well.